I have everybody's attention now?
Welcome to STS Radio.
You just wait and see how far we're gonna go.
Because regular radio fucking sucks.
All right, welcome to another episode of STS Radio. I'm Andrew. With me, as always, Bruce Gates.
Hey!
Though hasn't been for quite some time.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I logged into Skype, I looked at when the last time you and I had actually contacted each other over Skype, and it said April of 2017. So that means this is a year and 8 months in the making.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
damn.
Shit, man. Yeah, we have lives outside of this, so yeah, shit happens. But we also have Hogan joining us.
What's going on, guys?
Yeah, Hogan joining us again. Yeah, so I kind of wanted to talk about the big thing that had happened recently. So I may if I bawl my eyes out during this fucking podcast, you'll know the reason why. But I figure this would be a good time to just kind of be cathartic in a sense of just telling stories about the man who there's a saying that we're the sum of our parts, and my dad was a big hero in my life. And the reason I'm saying was because on November 13th he had passed away. So I figure take this time because it's been a while since we've been in a room together or over Skype, and and just talk about what had happened, and just tell some stories about the guy, and just kind of give him the farewell that that he deserves.
The Viking goodbye.
Well, verbally, I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Seriously,
a warrior send-off.
The nerve of him, man. Seriously, I was just let's tell stories about my dad, remember him from what a good guy he is, and he's just dude, let's light your dad on fire.
Well, the whole warrior send-off.
That's what a Viking funeral is, though.
Well,
that's when they put your dead ass in a boat, they send you off to sea, and they just shoot a flaming arrow and just on fire.
Isn't that supposed to be a really honorable way to go or something?
Well,
that's why they did it or something.
Yeah,
they thought it was
Yeah, I mean, the last time I heard about anybody doing a Viking funeral was for it was the band Gwar, and they only did with Odorus's costume. I think Dave Brockie wasn't in there. I think he got a burial in a cemetery and whatnot. But yeah, man, cool in theory, but Jesus Christ, man.
But no, that ship has sailed. No pun intended.
Dude, this fucking guy with the jokes.
Trying to lighten up the situation, sir.
Right.
Before we get into the heavy.
Yeah.
Oof. Trying to burn me on that one. Jesus.
Oh, listen to you now.
Man, you kidding me? I got cheaper pop than Mick Foley at a flea market.
Well, you do have some pretty good dad jokes, so I mean.
Yeah, it's still. Okay, so let's lighten it up a little bit first. So, Bruce, you hear about the car salesman that didn't go on a date for about 3 years?
No.
No interest.
Ah.
All right, now that bullshit's out of the way. Yeah, so I'm not even sure where really even start this off. Just
yeah, I mean it was so sudden. It was I mean, where do you start?
It really was and I guess I'll start as early as as possible.
At the beginning of time.
One day, my dad was swimming around in his dad's balls, and then suddenly freedom.
On that note.
So this was back in, I want to say it was 2011, 2012-ish. My dad had major heart surgery, was basically on the verge of death there. Because one of the aortic valves in his heart had an aneurysm that ruptured. So we're in the hospital, and the doctors are telling us, hey, it's 50-50 shot that he makes it. We're going to do everything that we can and whatnot. eventually he pulls through and whatnot. And then the doctors later told us, like, yeah, we kind of pumped up the figure a bit. It was really more of a 2% chance of him actually making it.
Who?
Yeah. And to kind of make matters a little bit worse in that situation, in his recovery room, like, he had a private hospital room and whatnot. But the room next to him was a guy that was younger than him, had the same thing happen to him. He didn't make it.
Wow.
So just from the next room, you could hear like the wife and just the children just crying, and it just broke your fucking heart, man.
Man.
So he had the artificial like valve and whatnot, and that thing was guaranteed for like 50 years or something like that. It was one of the metal ones. So fast forward to more recently, like the only things he really complained about was he was feeling tired.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, all right, the guy busts his ass on on work days and weekends and whatnot. He's busting his ass. He really needs a day for himself. Just kind of sit back, watch MASH or do whatever.
Yeah, your dad.
And he used to do a fair bit of
stopped
travel
or
too,
anything.
right?
He really didn't, man. He had this like just an absolute maniac work ethic that I kind of picked up in a sense of like just keep busting your ass. But obviously learned over time, like, take time for yourself, recharge your batteries, do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
But he went into work on, this is November 13th, called my mom probably about 5 minutes before he was going to leave and whatnot. And he's just like, yeah, I'm just packing up some stuff, see you when I get home. And then about half an hour later, she got a phone call from, I think it was like a paramedic or a coworker or something like that, saying that, hey, your husband's being taken by ambulance to the hospital. You need to get here now. And by the time we got to the hospital, he was taken over to Miriam Hospital, as that was the closest one to his office. He, I dropped my mom off at the front, and I'm going nuts for like 20 minutes trying to find a parking spot. I get in there and I'm like, I'm here to see my dad. Where is he? And the security guard's like, all right, hang on a second, I'll give you a visitor pass, put that on there. Nurse brings me into a room and there's a doctor and a social worker. And I'm like, oh shit, social worker's here. That's not usually good. Oh shit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the doctors tell us, he was found collapsed at his desk at work, just slumped right over at his desk. And, from what we were told, the paramedics were able to bring him back for a little bit at the office. But by the time he got to the hospital, he was gone.
Man.
And they're like, we did everything we could to save him. So, yeah, so that was the story of that. And just absolutely, just took us by just complete shock because, obviously nobody expected this.
Sure. I mean, you knew he was weaker from all the previous stuff before, but it's still, I mean, you never expect it. Even like, like someone who's older, like let's say like, I don't know, someone who's like 90 years old, you're sort of thinking in the back of your head, like, okay, pretty much any day could be the day. But with someone that age I mean, you never really expect it still. Like, so even when they're like super old and there's everything wrong with them, you still never really expect like, okay, it could happen any minute. And when it does happen, it's like, holy shit, okay, it's here now.
Yeah. I mean,
and it just throws you through a loop.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like, like a family member with like cancer, for example, where, the clock is essentially ticking in the sense of like, if it's bad enough, like, the clock is ticking, you have time to prepare your mind for it. Yeah, it's still going to suck, but you at least have kind of like a head start on that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Yeah. So,
well, how old was your dad, if you don't mind me asking on air?
Yeah, that's fine. He was, I want to say he was like 60, God, he was like 63 or 64? No, 65. How does Hogan know my dad's age and I don't?
just because I saw the date at the tombstone today,
Oh.
1953 to 2018.
Oh,
he's smarter than us. He did the math.
He giant. Listen, nobody's ever accused me of being smart, so.
Well, I'm accusing you now, goddammit.
No, his birthday was only like a couple weeks prior to that,
Yeah, it
wasn't
was,
it?
yeah, a little less than 2 weeks prior to that, yeah. Fucking genius.
Right? Like,
How dare you perform basic mathematics equations?
How dare you know addition?
You son of a bitch.
What's wrong with you? Why do you know this first grade math?
How dare you go to a public school and pay attention?
Do not go to a public school, thank you.
Well, there's the answer.
I did up until 9th grade, but.
Well, anyways, regardless. But yeah, like, it was just, yeah, that shit happened, and, you know, so my aunt and uncle came in from California. They caught, like, the next flight out, like, the next morning at, like, 6 in the morning, something like that. And, you know, then it was just, you know, what the fuck do we do? Where do we fucking go, man? Because, again, like, just happened suddenly. Nobody was prepared for it. Nobody knew what the fuck to really do next.
No, you're never prepared for that to begin with, but for something like that to happen, you're absolutely not prepared for it.
No. But yeah, it's like there's some stuff I can't really like talk about just yet.
Dude, it only happened
a
short time ago.
Well, no. I'm saying with the like you know what I'm talking about. Like my mom talked about it at the so we went to go visit him today.
Yeah, no.
And I mean there's some stuff I'll talk about in the future, but for now it has to stay off air, so to speak. But
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was just, you know, and the fact of it just happening, like, you know, that just rocked our fucking worlds. You know?
And I think what probably sucks about it most is that not only does the situation suck, where now you just lost your dad, you know, your mom just lost her husband. Forget all of that. Like, now you're just going to be constantly reminded of it pretty much from then on, you know, up until at least the day that you bury him. But obviously beyond that, you're going to be reminded of it because of all these people that need all these different things, you know, like the funeral department needs this and whatever. Like, there's all these things that you have to deal with, so that even if you wanted to take like 5 seconds to try to forget about it, not that you could, but even if you wanted to take that time to try to get away from it, you really can't, because there's always someone knocking at your door or calling you to do something that's related to it. And it's like, man, you just can't get away.
Yeah, it's you know, and like I went back to work on Thanksgiving. That was like a couple of days after the funeral. The funeral was on a Monday. I went back on the Thursday. And like, just, you know, the first like couple hours of the shift, like I was just a mess, like just every few minutes just kind of like just bawling my eyes out. And you know, it didn't make things any easier that like I had coworkers or supervisors coming up to me just going, "Hey, I'm so sorry about your loss. I heard about what happened." And it's like, guys, come on, this is making it harder. Come on. And I know there's somebody out there listening that's going, "Hey, come on, phrasing." Anyways, but yeah, just the outpour of just love and support from like just neighbors, friends, family we haven't heard from in a while, and it's been nothing short of absolutely amazing. But I mean, this year can definitely fucking suck the biggest buffet of dicks ever.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say the only good thing that I can say about this year is the fact that I got to marry my best friend. That's it. Other than that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, that's a pretty huge up.
It was amazing.
Food trucks at the wedding. Oh.
Yes.
Don't ever tell anybody. Like, don't ever let anybody ever tell you you're not a fucking genius for that move.
Not my idea.
Take credit for it.
Oh, it was our idea.
You'll share it.
It was a joint venture.
It was. It's just something we do. We go. You've been with us a ton of times.
Yeah.
We go like every Friday and to Roger Williams Park Zoo for it, and Thursdays we'd go to Sons of Liberty here or there.
Yeah. And that's